What if I told you that in a hidden laboratory in the Soviet Union, scientists did what even Frankenstein wouldn't dare? They decapitated dogs and kept their heads alive, eyes blinking, tongues moving, hearts pumping outside the body. This is not fiction. It's a real page, forgotten in the cold archives of history. Today, you will see how human obsession with defeating death created monsters of flesh and steel. You are at Satire Sacred, the temple where forbidden truths breathe again. If you stay until the end, you will understand how far a human can go when curiosity loses its soul. Subscribe, because here the impossible is exposed. In the 1920s, the Soviet Union was still bleeding after the revolution, but wanted to prove to the world that its science was stronger than any rival ideology. At the center of this race was Sergei Brukhonenko, a scientist obsessed with cheating death. Brukhonenko believed that if it was possible to control the flow of blood, it was possible to trick fate. Thus was born the autojector, a rudimentary extracorporeal circulation machine, the ancestor of what we now know as the artificial heart-lung machine. But he didn't stop at theory. In cold laboratories, stray dogs were captured, anesthetized, and connected to metal tubes that kept organs functioning away from the body. Hearts beating on stainless steel trays, lungs inflating outside rib cages, images that today look like they came from a biological nightmare. For the Soviet government, this was propaganda, a symbol of victory over death. But for those who saw it up close, it was a factory of horrors, a sacrifice field to feed scientific vanity. In 1928, Brukhonenko showed the world his most shocking feat. He invited doctors, officials, and journalists to watch a demonstration. A freshly severed dog's head, connected by tubes and pumps, alive on a metal tray. When a bell rang, the ears moved. When acid was dripped on the tongue, the head licked its muzzle, as if it still felt pain. For those watching, it was death swallowed by wires and valves, a fragmented body that refused to die. The government filmed everything. The video circulated as propaganda to show the power of Soviet science. In Western halls, doctors and priests watched the images horrified. It was the victory of mechanical biology, but also proof that ethics could be butchered along with the dogs. Today, fragments of these films survive as relics of a nightmare, reminding us that sometimes human curiosity is crueler than any fictional monster. Few people know, but these experiments did not stop with dogs. Behind the scenes, documents suggest that Brukhonenko and his team dreamed of using the same technique on humans. The idea was to create a basis for radical transplants, to resurrect wounded soldiers on the battlefield, or perhaps to prolong the life of Soviet leaders. Some rumors speak of secret attempts with prisoners, tests hidden behind false diagnoses and locked files. Officially, nothing was proven, but records indicate that the studies inspired real advances in heart surgery, the heart-lung machine, and emergency medicine, a legacy that, ironically, saved millions of lives, built on the sacrifice of animals that had no choice. In the end, each beat of a transplanted heart today carries a dark echo, a muffled bark in a laboratory that dared to mock death. Brukhonenko was celebrated as a hero in the USSR, but also became a target of criticism inside and outside the Soviet bloc. For some, he was a visionary genius. For others, a sadist disguised as a pioneer. The truth is that without his experiments, modern heart surgery techniques might have taken much longer to evolve. But at what cost? How many silent sacrifices were buried along with the evidence? This story makes us ask, how far are we willing to go in the name of progress? How far can humans justify pain, as long as it produces results for the majority? At Satire Sacred, we believe that opening these files is not just remembering, it's preventing repetition. Because every laboratory without limits is born with a scalpel and a lie. Today, most people see these experiments as relics of a barbaric time. But just look around. How far have biotechnology, genetic manipulation, and organ engineering already come? Are we more conscious, or did we just dress the monster in a white lab coat? Understanding Brukhonenko is understanding the dark side of human curiosity. It's remembering that every time science ignores ethics, the price is always paid by the weakest link. If you've made it this far, carry this story with you. Question. Demand transparency. Protect the innocent of all times. If this woke you up, like, comment, and subscribe to Satire Sacred, because here, even the impossible bleeds truth.